There are some things that you just can't separate in this world. Peanut butter and jelly, Bonnie and Clyde, Banana 1 and Banana 2, HBB, and bass. And in his latest collaboration with QKZ, HBB has reached the deepest parts of hell to give us the biggest, the boldest, the baddest bass headset in the market. Let's talk about the QKZ X HBB Hades. At this point, everyone who's been in this hobby long enough should know who HBB is. He is one of the biggest figures in the entirety of audio review and has provided us with so much collaboration IEMs from different brands. The $49 Hades marks his third collaboration with QKZ and features two dynamic drivers and a rather handsome looking purple faceplate. Let's talk more about that soon, but first let's talk about the unboxing experience. I'll be honest, I didn't expect the box of the Hades to be as intricate as it is. It's a very comic book style design that sets it apart from, well, many of the sets in and over its price range. It's a very unique box, and I'd love to see more companies think outside the box, with pun intended, with their packaging. The inclusions aren't as fantastic, however, as it only comes with 3 pairs of ear tips, a cheap plastic case, and an interesting gold coin that has HBB's logo embossed in it. I can't deny that the coin looks good, but I just wish that it went to accessorizing the IEM better instead. The Hades features a rather nice purple translucent faceplate that allows you to briefly see the drivers through the faceplate. You can see the drivers more clearly through the underside of the IEM itself. An interesting thing to note about the Hades is that this is QKZ's first IEM that features the traditional 2-pin connector. All their previous releases have been QDC, so this was definitely a breath of fresh air. It's your usual full resin build, but still feels durable and well made. Comfort-wise, it's on the larger side of IEMs, but ensures that the fit and seal is impeccable if you have medium-sized ears. Pair that with the bass head tuning and I genuinely found this to be a very good commuter set, but more on that later. As for the sound signature, the sound signature of the Hades is bass. Yeah, bass. A heaps amount of it. Mids and treble could As for drivability, the Hades is quite easy to drive, but it really wants a lot of volume to shine. Using a more powerful source will make it sound more engaging and deep, while using a cleaner source will bring in some much needed detail and tightness in the low end. Low volume listening will sound quite poor in the Hades in my experience, so I highly recommend cranking that volume knob up if you want to make the most out of the 2DDs. As for the bass, this is the star of the show. The bass of the Hades is big, it's booming, and it will overwhelm you if you are not a bass head like me. The bass goes so deep that there's so much that you kind of just anticipate a bass drop in literally everything you listen to. It is not clean, tight, or refined at all. It's just pure, dumb, rumbly, and deep bass that is absolutely perfect for hip-hop and, surprisingly, older tracks with not a lot of note weight or bass. There's not a lot of nuance, and it doesn't try to have a lot of nuance. The upper mids try to balance it out, but it's still a fundamentally veiled experience when listening to basically most songs, with the exception of older tracks. An example of this is Heartaches by the Number by Guy Mitchell. This song has barely any bass in the mixing, which means, with the Hades, it honestly sounds pretty well balanced. Moving on to the treble of the Hades is also expectedly pushed back. However, this benefits it as you're able to crank up the volume quite high without any top end harshness. But don't expect detail or extension. It's not as dark or rolled off as other older or cheaper sets that try to do this much bass, but it still gets pushed back in the overall mix. Again, pushing the volume more will allow the treble to be more present, and it may make it sound a little bit more balanced. As for technicalities, if you were expecting good technicalities, tough luck. These struggle with separating basic tracks and even more with more complex tracks like metal, and it just sounds mushy. There's a little bit of depth thanks to the bass, but the sound is generally in your head and kind of cramped. This set doesn't try to be technical, so I can forgive that, especially considering the price. As for comparisons, let's compare it to the KBEAR KW1. Compared to the KW1, they both feature a very similar bass-centric sound with a very contrasting presentation. The KW1 is an unassuming bullet-style IEM with a wooden shell, while the Hades exudes that hard bass look. The Hades has a deeper and more open sound, while the KW1 has a richer and punchier bass that sounds a bit more natural in the vocal presentation, which is kind of weird when talking about bass headsets. Compared to the QKZ X HBB, the very first one, it has a considerably more balanced and technical sound compared to the Hades, but it doesn't offer as much fun or as much crazy dumb bass as the latter. The QKZ X HBB has a more all-rounder type, warm bassy sound, while the Hades is a more focused, pure bass headset. Compared to the 7Hz Legato, the Legato is another volume scaler, just like the Hades. The Legato features a richer, more nuanced, and deeper sounding bass while listening at the recommended volume, but unfortunately due to the treble also induces a little bit of harshness and roughness. The Hades on the other hand sounds sloppier but is able to be cranked to much higher levels compared to the Legato due to the smoother and more refined sounding treble. Compared to the Truth Ear Zero Blue, the Zero has a generally more balanced and more technical sound compared to the Hades, but the Hades, once again, has a more focused bass head sound. The Zero Blue also has shout tendencies, whereas the Hades, despite having similar looking upper mid-range, honestly balances out better than the Truth Ear Zero, as there's less bass on the Zero to compensate for the amount of upper mids to treble region. To conclude, this is a pure bass headset. There's no kidding about that. It caters purely to bass heads. You don't get the set expecting a well-balanced bass boosted set, and it doesn't try to be. You're getting bass, and you're getting a lot of it. It's absolutely perfect for hip-hop and older pop rock songs without a lot of bass, but a lot of modern songs will just be drowned out in so much bass that it'd sound like you're sitting in your friend's car decked out with 5 10-inch subs. It makes it a somewhat niche set, but I'd argue that it is a refreshing release from the sets that we've been getting recently. I really just wish that they included better accessories, especially since they were able to include a full metal coin in the package. But if you are looking for an HBB approved bass headset, then the gates of Hades are wide open for you. Thank you so much for watching my review. I would just like to say a big thanks to Linsol for sending over the Hades for my honest impressions. If you would like to order one, consider using the non-affiliated link down below. And with that, obodio out.